Imagine the world of the future: huge megacities, flying cars, pennies implants, and genetic modifications. And it's all mundane and familiar things as a world in which yesterday's science fiction has become reality. But if in such a world, there is room for immortal life. In general, immortality means physical or spiritual form of unceasing life. And there are several types, its possible incarnation, one of them so-called digital immortality. In this video, we will talk about its stories of how we can transfer our consciousness to another medium, for example in computer or artificial body, and will we stay after such a transfer from yourself, or it will eventually be all just our copy digital download idea of digital mind uploading and computer or other form of interaction with the world is very popular among scientists and writers and indeed creations. This technology would allow people to live in the world of unlimited virtual experience and become practically immortal. Unfortunately, currently transferring consciousness is not possible. Not only technical and engineering reasons, but also simply because we have little idea what is consciousness. We do not know what it's like to be a different person. We know how these or those living people feel creatures, and we do not know for sure where is the area of consciousness in the brain. However, by improving technologies and increasing knowledge, human body in the future uploading consciousness into a computer become reality. So let's go now. Let's talk about how my husband and I to achieve this brain scan, what is needed in theory to create a copy of the identity, 2 points to scan information from the brain and build on it. Functioning imitation. But like a brain scan will help you create a copy of the personality, scientists believe that if you can create detailed brain map with all connections of neurons and synapses, also a computing device that will simulate all processes occurring in the living brain, then you get a copy of a certain personality, very rough map of the human brain already available. Although it does not represent the real map of each unique neuron in head of a particular person, and yet brain scanning technology are currently developing magnetic resonance imaging available. MRI scanner showing pretty high quality details in brain connections, and it is reasonable to assume that soon there will be invented more new advanced technologies we can scan, localize, and store. Data about each neural connection within human head, it's just a matter of time. How can creating a copy of a person? What copying might look like in the future? Imagine when a biological body starts to disintegrate. Machine scans your brain to imprint it unique stuffing after computer. The system uses this information to recreating brain activity, and now get to you with your memories, feelings, way of thinking, and accepting solutions just translated into computer hardware is just as easy. How do we copy a text file today? But you yourself will remain outside in your body and watch your copy from the side. Brain simulation. Brain simulation. Technical difficulties overcome. Invented a suitable device for brain scan is now required. Help scanned data create his working imitation. How can this be done in general? The brain contains many biological mechanisms and consists of 86 billion neurons which constantly sends and receives signals, as well as from 100 trillion synapses forming connections between neurons. Therefore, it is usually compared with a computer. But this resemblance is only superficial. Under our skull, processes are fundamentally different from digital computing. But on the other hand, the brain is a natural object that works according to the laws of physics. And where there is physics, there is mathematics. If all parameters are measured correctly, brain to numerically evaluate its work, then it is possible to create a mathematical model, gray matter, and emulate it on digital computer. And so now we know that the neuron performs the functions, the transmitter of information is programmatically. It is not difficult to implement such an element called artificial neurons. The fact is that there are 86 billion of them in the brain. And apart from you creating each neuron, it is necessary to ensure that all of them interacted with each other from here. Another question arises: to what extent tricky I must be calculating machine to fit a whole brain building? A network of this magnitude is still beyond current possibilities, and to create a vast world for a large number of digitized creatures need a significant increased computing power. But despite this technology, develop very fast feature advent of the era of quantum computers, and soon I certainly will be able to simulate a neural network comparable in scales with the human brain over. In addition, A number of well-known neuroscientists and specialists in the field of artificial intellect considers it possible to create computers with consciousness, but it is important not to forget that artificial human-scale neural network brain, let it be colossal achievement, is still not the same as digitized identity copying and transferring consciousness. Transfer of consciousness is one of the main gaps in this theory rather philosophically than scientific. Consciousness can survive your digital migration, preserving its integrity, and what will become of your soul or what makes you exactly you will be, whether copying personality is a step towards immortality. Because the final result is, we have previously said, perhaps no more than a copy to some extent. Problems arising. Sabin-defecation consciousness can be bypassed if you make the process of transfer of consciousness smooth for this. For example, you can insert chip-style communication possibilities in the human head and measure of biological aging of the brain, transfer more and more replacements to the chip powers. In this case, at the moment, physical death of an independent human consciousness will no longer be problem with identification can be considered solved. So we have two main ways to secure digital immortality is the copying of consciousness and serial transfer. With copying consciousness, more or less, copying consciousness, it is clear that it will most likely be no more than just a copy of nothing fantastic shift of consciousness. After the biological death of individuals, copy will not happen, and copy will have my own self, my consciousness and my personality, albeit copied in detail from original or still happen. What if you will be able to inspect will feel immediately two of their bodies, for example, copy and original, and from each of them to receive an affirmative signal about that you are in it. It's like controlling two characters at the same time, but in general from the point of view. Another person, such a copy is, nothing will be different from its biological versions, and will be considered the same person. Though the original will, of course, eventually die, and the question is it worth it? Immortality of its price. Because life is extended, why then create digital clone? The answer is simple, if only because within useful to human civilization, save knowledge and the best minds, humanity with consistent sequential transfer of consciousness is already more interesting. Imagine that you have a chip that has 1,000 times more power than your brain, and now you implanted it and replaced one brain neuron. Will you remain artificial after that? After all, an artificial neuron works 1,000 times faster than biological, in theory. Yes, one neuron is unlikely to replace your consciousness, and you stay with yourself despite significant improvements in cognitive abilities, but if for several months will be gradually replaced million neurons new. It seems it's not so much, however. You will notice that began to read books faster than the best understand abstract mathematics concepts that previously introduced you to stupor now seem quite understandable as more neurons replace your brain. You will notice an improvement memory, and your mind will be full curiosity and thirst for knowledge of the world. For a few months, you will gain knowledge PhD level, and this is just the beginning. And do you think you are still human, or already neurocomputer interface? Little machine, such chips are possible only to the future. However, the first stage revitalization of body chips is already feasible. Yet in the late 1990s, scientists Stanford University found a way split nerves and then splicing them again using the chip after, in one of the hospitals in the brain, completely paralyzed patient-implanted electrodes that allowed translate thoughts into cursor movement. Technically, this stage names measures computer interface currently working in this scientific field. Thousands of researchers and undoubtedly in new ways will be found in the future brain connection to computer virtual worlds and robots. Imagine that somehow we managed to build an imitation of your brain. We scanned it. It was created by neural networks on the following step, supposed to infuse a bought brain into the body. Without it, is not clear what experience will be accumulated at your artificial brain floating in a digital barrel. Because if brain simulation has the same properties that the brain of a living person, then in such a situation, she may feel discern waste and lose feeling your own self. Your personal self is rooted in your body. You know where you are physically, and where are your arms, legs, torso. It gives you primary support, if not will be her, as well as contact with the outside world. Most likely you will have to worry confusion. So what's to come? Decide which artificial body to give you a robot that can walk real world or simulated body living in virtual space. In any case, fundamentally, There are no insurmountable obstacles to this. Only technical, apparently, consciousness is connected with the brain and likely to continue to exist. And in a steel cranium, another version of you can live in peace simulations, unable to tell the difference. You can walk down the street, stimulated city. Feel a breath of wind to talk to others, stimulated by them. People, and if you are all the world outside, will still be interesting, your stimulated playground. Then you can, for example, appear via video link at a meeting of the board of directors company, or contact the family who got together for dinner. Well, the question will climb: simulated. Will the simulation imitate reality? Environment must mimic the physical reality. This is where you can start. Create a city sky food smells, but also do not forget that the simulation can give an experience impossible in real world. And here the fun begins. You can go on a safari in Middle-earth. Where can I live at Hogwarts? Magic. Wands and spells actually work. Can exist on Mars simulation, and move from one entertainment to another. But even more, they are interested in the fact that virtual world may include any number of dimensions in space, and little time is running out practicing in virtual space. We can achieve the desired degrees of intuition for 4D mode, for stimulated minds simulated in world. The boundaries of physical reality will cease. Makes sense if you no longer have a body. The meaning of pretending that she exists. Also, the most pivotal change in the history of human experience would be a lost individuality, integration of knowledge into single mind, smarter and more capable of anything that can exist in the natural world concept of the individual. Lost the need to be stimulated by their bodies, walking around in a simulated world. Same instead, there will be a single platform, thoughts and knowledge, but the whole thing is possible, very distant future actions towards digital immortality. However, actions towards digital immortality is already being actively pursued. For example, the company to both and the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology announced the Blue Brain Project, the purpose of which is to create detailed maps, human brain and blue brain. The only such project so far, Moment managed to recreate some parts of the brain of mice and worms. Yes, exactly, the worm, which after they could load into the robot, and the worm has found a new body. Turned out interesting robot, really acting like a worm, bypassing obstacles and groping for a way out labyrinth. One can only guess what will happen. When will the brain map become available to scientists? A more developed cat animal or monkeys, for example. Probably these experiments will become more interesting and will challenge great resonance in society. What will become of the people creation of a technology for transferring consciousness into computer raises a number of questions, one of which what this technology will do with the human species in psychological and culturally. It will completely change humanity, and the discovery will affect. We are much stronger than the appearance the internet, and the consequences can be so dramatic that it's already now think about them. And it doesn't matter what are the chances of realizing this technology raises questions about how we will treat digital life. Will whether simulated people are endowed with the same rights like everyone else. It won't be a crime to pull out sockets of a stimulated person or experiment on an artificial world for a reason: information processing restrictions. The place will obviously not be enough for everyone who will decide who gets the immortal digital life. The rich will be served first or determined based on merit. No less grim looks and thought that way by transferring people's consciousness into computer. Humanity will fight with overpopulation. Then comes the problems that will arise if people deliberately create multiple copies of yourself. At the same time, the nature of individuality becomes pretty blurry if you can literally collide with yourself. This technology will change the definition, what it means to be specific human, and what it means to be alive in general. Having learned to load the human consciousness in the computer, my husband and I deceive death, providing both but also virtual existence after the end of the real conclusion. While this is still fiction, but scientists are already think about this problem. Even now, the future is clear, apparently lies behind the symbiosis of man and machine if you like it, and want more. Be sure to like these videos, subscribe to our channel and click on bell so you don't miss new ones issues.